Is Fellowship the next upcoming WoW killer? Short answer, no. Maybe, not really. Fellowship has been on the uprising for a few weeks now, and people seem to be very interested in the game. If you don't know what Fellowship is, it's a new game in very early stages of development, and they describe it as a multiplayer online dungeon adventure game, MODA for short, which is a completely new type of game description, if I'm not mistaken. It's set in a fantasy world with loot, different heroes and roles, and endlessly scaling dungeons that reward players' skill, team coordination, and strategy. Now, if you played WoW or have played WoW in the last few years, which if you've been following my channel you should be familiar with the game, this game is basically the Mythic Plus game mode in its entirety. It is basically a one-to-one copy of the game mode with little differences like only needing 4 members in a group instead of 5, reducing the total amount of DPS needed to 2 instead of 3. There's no timer in these dungeons, so you can wipe as often as you want and basically take your time and pull one pack after the other if you wish to do so. And the best part of the game, which I don't really know how Blizzard still couldn't manage to get it into their own game, matchmaking. You can select which dungeon, difficulty level, and role you want to play, and it will assemble a group for you and throw you into the dungeon once the group is filled up, which is probably why this game is getting this much attention right now. Mythic Plus players have been yearning for features like this for years, especially DPS players, since it's basically impossible to get into any groups if you're not in the top 5 meta classes of the current season. Now that you know what Fellowship even is, let's get the next question out of the way. Who is this game even for? Well, for one, it's for everyone that enjoys this type of gameplay and grind, but also it's for players that don't really have the time anymore to invest a lot of time into Mythic Plus, in WoW, or even other games. Maybe you have a job that drains all your energy and time, maybe you have a kid, whatever it is. These dungeons are a quick in and out gameplay loop with no dungeon taking longer than around 15 minutes. It's perfect for people that don't have the freedom of sitting in LFG and applying for groups for 1 hour straight, just to get into a group that can't even make it to the first boss. This game is designed to be fast. Every dungeon only has one boss, with a few trash mobs laying around on the way. There even is a competitive side to the game, with leaderboards, which is basically a speedrun.com list with the fastest dungeon clears, so there's also reason to go super fast for the people that enjoy that. But we can't really judge the game from its promises and features though, so let's jump into the game and check it out ourselves. The first thing I did once the game opened up is making my way to the settings menu, and honestly, I was very surprised how polished and well thought out these settings were. There are different targeting and casting modes, a built-in mouse over macro for healers, strafe left and right are automatically on A and E, which should be the norm in any MMO by now, and the ability keybinds were also way better than I'm used to. There are currently 6 classes, or heroes as they call it, available in the game, with 2 tanks, 2 DPS and 2 healers. And I have to be honest here, all of these classes were ripped straight out of WoW, with some tweaks here and there. Helena, one of the 2 tanks, is basically a protection paladin, and all the spells resemble that as well. Maiko, or Miko, is a monk, who to be honest, has a very fun and in-depth playstyle with her ability combo mechanics, making her one of the most unique classes I've ever played in any game. Frost Mage, Arms Warrior, Druid, and Priest. Now, although these classes are visually completely copied from WoW, their playstyles luckily vary from the game. They obviously took inspiration from Blizzard, but decided to be creative with the classes so they feel completely different in their playstyle. I picked up the Monk and made my way into the game. First thing I saw was that there is a built-in damage and healing meter on the left side of the screen, and the UI in general was built perfectly. Everything is tight and close to each other, so you won't have to fly across your screen with your eyes just to check your health every few seconds. After understanding the basics of my kit for a few minutes on a target dummy, I made my way to the game finder and queued up for my first dungeon, which was going to be Stormwatch +0. Maybe tanking wasn't the best role to start out with, since I didn't know what I was really doing and where I needed to go, but we managed to get through and eventually made it to the boss at the end. While doing my run, I realized that although the combat is pretty alright, it was missing something. I think it's mainly the missing animations of abilities or the damage numbers, but while playing the game I felt like it's missing some kind of impact. My spells felt like a sponge, and I never had a damn I'm doing so much damage moment, even with all my cooldowns and abilities blasted on the targets. If I wanted to make sure I made good use of my cooldowns, I would have to take a look at the damage meters to see it. The movement of my characters also felt a little clunky at times. Turning with my mouse felt slightly off and delayed, and I couldn't aim my dash ability in a specific direction using WASD for example, which as you might know works in WoW, allowing you to roll or dash backwards if you press back while pressing your roll ability. I don't want to call these things out for being in the game though. Remember, the game is in a very early stage, and these things are to be expected, and I'm sure they will tackle these issues with future builds since this is one of the very small amount of games I've ever seen in my life be this polished and clean in this early version of a game. Not all about the gameplay is bad though. The abilities don't feel out of place and feel natural. And what do I mean by that? Well, have you ever played a game where the animations were so over the top for the little damage you would deal, or vice versa, where your character basically stands still and all the enemies explode? Yeah, that didn't exist from my POV. The animations were clean and fitting to the class and ability I was casting, which is a big plus point for me, since it can throw you off at times and ruin your immersion, so to say. After killing the boss at the end, a chest drops with various different rewards inside. Unlike M+, where only 2 people get gear at the end, in Fellowship everyone gets a piece of gear. And some gold, which is used to further upgrade your gear at the Artificer. It was also at this moment where I realized that the progression in this game is very linear. Unlike WoW, where you could technically skip 5 difficulty levels and jump straight into a +6, here you need to work your way up with every single character or hero. You go from +0 to +1, up to +2, and so on. Every new level of difficulty also grants you various rewards, from mounts to talent points and new abilities. This linear progression and reward track gives the player a reason to keep on pushing and get better at their class and role, and honestly, this game feels like what Mythic Plus should have been all along. The people behind this game somehow listen better to community feedback in WoW than Blizzard themselves do, and decided to take matters into their own hands and create this banger of a game. Although it has its flaws and currently doesn't have a lot of variety when it comes to classes, this game has insane potential if they keep updating and developing it, which may force Blizzard to eventually do something against it. Alright, you should have enough information now to answer the question in the video title. Is this the new WoW killer? No, definitely not.
My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
Why? Well, not because the game is bad, but because at this point we all should know by now that the only WoW killer that could ever exist and destroy the game is WoW itself. If anything, this game is the WoW savior. If this game keeps blowing up like it is right now, Blizzard will take action and improve the gameplay of Mythic Plus to keep their player base by adding a matchmaking system, better queue system in general, better balancing, you name it. I mean, look at Overwatch right now. That game is getting updates that they would have never gotten otherwise if Marvel Rivals wasn't a competition for them. People that think that competition is a bad thing are utterly ignorant. Competition will force both sides to keep on improving the systems and game designs to keep the player base on their side, creating an endless limbo of releasing one good update after the other. If there was no competition, there would literally be zero reason to improve the game and invest more money into something that can't lose their player base anyway. See Mythic Plus or Overwatch. But those are only my thoughts. What do you think? Let me know down in the comment section below. And while you're down there, consider subscribing to my channel to never miss any of my future uploads again. If you want to support me even more, you can join my channel for only 99 cents to get early access to all of my videos. I wish you all a wonderful day or night, and I hope you enjoy Fellowship as much as I do. But if you don't think Fellowship is something for you, consider clicking on this video right here, where I tell you why now is the perfect moment to get into World of Warcraft. And that's it from me. And I will see you in the next video.